Hey orchid loving friends, it's Deb. Today I just want to talk a little bit about light levels, key visuals that you can watch out for to help you determine whether or not your orchids are getting sufficient amount of light or in some cases a little too much light. Let's get to it. All right, so let's go ahead and start with this beauty. This is one of my Cattleyas, and as you can see, she's got this beautiful light green coloring. Maybe even a tinge of yellow, but mostly just light green. And that is an indication that your Cattleya is getting a good amount of light. The other indication would definitely be spike and blooms. So I've got a sheath, yay! And hopefully that sheath pushes out and produces some buds in there. So you can better believe I'm anxiously awaiting for that to happen. But that's usually an indication that your Cattleya is getting a correct amount of light. So beautiful, vibrant green color, very light in color. Some would say almost yellow. I was going to show you that one, but I'm not. Never mind. Let's move along. Same with your Phalaenopsis. So your Phalaenopsis also, if we look at the twins here, they have that beautiful shiny green coloring. But they also have, as you can see, they're producing a lot of anthocyanin. So anthocyanin is the natural pigmentation in plants, and it's usually, when they produce a lot of it, it is because, one, it's an indication of the color of the blooms, so usually a red or a fuchsia or a purple bloom, or it is the plant's natural reaction to too much sunlight. So if the intensity of the light that you're growing them in is a little higher than their natural tolerance, they will produce extra anthocyanin to kind of block those harmful rays. So these twins here are producing, they are definitely at the highest level, because not only do I see the anthocyanin on the bottom of the leaf where it's normal to see, but I'm also seeing it a little bit on the tops of the leaves. So just a little bit. But, I would typically, in a situation like this, if it got any darker, I would definitely move them. But I think that they are doing very, very well. They've got beautiful roots being produced, buds all over the place. Here's another phal. So this is a hybrid. Normally your species Phalaenopsis have that, that same kind of light, vibrant green coloring like that, and they're shiny and they're waxy leaves. Your Phalaenopsis can as well. So this is Winky, one of my no ID phals. She doesn't have a lot of anthocyanin on the underside of her leaves, but she does have some, right? So that's an indication that she's getting a good amount of light. Her overall coloring is that lighter green. Usually when you're looking at Phalaenopsis, if they're really, really dark green, it's an indication of not quite enough light. Inadequate amounts of light will also show up in long, skinny leaves, and if there's a lot of space between the leaf joints of the Phalaenopsis as well. So that means that they're reaching towards the light. So you just need to bring the light closer to them or move them closer to the light. Depends if you're growing under LEDs or not. So this is typically a really beautiful color that you want to see for your Phalaenopsis as well. And if they're the species then you'll definitely want to see more of a lighter color with them as well. But again, you know what? If they're spiking and they're blooming and their roots are growing, then you know that you're giving them enough light. My Schilleriana, I think, is getting too much light, because if we look at her, tender young leaf here, at the end of it, I've got quite a bit of discoloration. So a little bit about my grow shelf where I keep her is I have 3 different LED panels and 3 different light intensity. So the higher intensity is for my cattleyas, the mid-range is for the oncidiums, and then the other end is, I have my Wilsonara there, I had her there, I have another one of my Phalaenopsis that loves the high light as well. She sits there too. But Schilleriana is telling me she might be getting a little bit too much light because of this discoloration. To me, that says that that's a bit of leaf burn. When I'm inspecting her leaf, I don't see any other spots or pitting or anything that would indicate a bacterial infection or anything like that. Just the discoloration on the top side. It's not come through the bottom side, so it's not irreparable at this point in time. I can move her out of that bright light, and I think we'll be fine at the end. But she's sitting in between the two, so in between the lower light and the oncidium type light, that's where she's sitting. So, the most important thing is you just pay attention to your orchids, you watch them, you see how they're reacting, you give them a little bit of time, and then you act accordingly, or react accordingly, I suppose. So the other thing with Schilleriana is if she was not getting enough light, her leaf would be quite muted. So it wouldn't have a lot of the distinctive pattern that Schilleriana has. It would be more muted. So she's got very distinctive pattern on this leaf. She also has a lot of anthocyanin being produced, but her flower is that pinky, purpley, the light purple color. So that anthocyan pigmentation isn't necessarily a sign of too much light, but in comparison to this leaf and this leaf, with the overproduction of anthocyanin, I'm thinking that she's just getting a little bit too much. So I'm going to put her over there on the display shelf, where I do have, that is a full spectrum grow bulb in there, but it's not quite as high intensity. I think that's only like a 2700 Kelvin bulb. Now, this is what you don't want to see. So this little cattleya, or this is a RLC, so Rhyncholaleo cattleya. It's a hybrid, but this is what you don't want to see, is that red spotting. That is an indication of cell damage. That is an indication of stress. That I put this poor little thing in because I did have her under too high of an intensity, too quick. So again, when I got her, she had, this one was her newest growth, and it was about halfway to growing out, and this one is a completely new growth in my care. So I had moved her from the oncidium level of light to the cattleya level of light because I increased the number of cattleyas that I was adding to my collection. So I wanted to provide them with adequate light, and not all cattleyas grow the same or require the same light requirements. Let's just put that out there. Even though they are a member of the cattleyas, this one clearly is telling me she doesn't need that much light. Even the older leaves have purpling on the tips, which are closer to the light. So overall, what I need to do is, now I'm paying attention, she's telling me she's getting too much light, I'm gonna move her over. So I'll move her over to oncidium level and see what happens with her. And hopefully, again, this isn't, irreparable. I hope that I haven't done anything too harmful to her, but she has a little sheath forming in there. She has lots of root growth. She's got a couple of little growths starting from the side of her, so, although she had a little too much light, it was not detrimental to her overall health. Thank goodness. So happy about that. So hopefully you found this helpful. One of the things that I love about our orchid growing community here is being able to share our experiences with one another. So I hope that you did find this, information that I provided, or my experience, helpful for your experiences. And we'll talk again soon. Thanks for watching, everyone.